What is up, guys? Welcome back to yet another episode of my Budget Ef Civic Build. So in the last video you watched me get this engine dialed and running and idling great, and we got it back sitting on all four tires. In fact, at the end of the video we even took it for its first ever drive with the B-swap in it. It went well, but we do still have some problems when we get this thing running. The coolant temp stays pretty high, and I haven't yet figured that one out. But we were also having another problem of it not hitting VTEC, which I have actually since fixed. You might have noticed that the speedometer wasn't working. So I came over to the engine bay here, plugged the speedo cable into the transmission, and what do you know? Once that engine got warm enough, she was cracking VTEC. So I didn't film any of it because I didn't have my phone on me, but man, it was bloody rowdy, and this thing is fast. It's a beast. Now, in this episode, we are getting this thing buttoned up and dialed. So I'm going to tackle the overheating issue, as well as I'm going to be making an exhaust for this car. So yeah, I don't do a lot of welding, as you're going to be able to see in this video, but I'll definitely give it my best shot. So let's see what I can rig up exhaust wise. I've just felt the engine and it is actually cold. So my guess is that this gauge just isn't calibrated. So yeah, I'm still gonna test the sensor with my multimeter. So I'll run you through that now. Is the coolant temperature sensor right here, or switch, or whatever you want to call it, and basically we're just gonna unplug it, and then I'm gonna test these wires. So the key is switched on to the on position. Now let's see the voltage of this plug. So that's getting 5 volts, which is what it should be getting. All right, so as you know, we have this issue where the temperature gauge goes quite high. So I think I just didn't have it calibrated properly. So I'm going to twist this all the way down, because what was happening before is that I would start the car and it starts here, and then as I drive it, it ends up here. And I think the car's overheating, but really I just didn't have it adjusted properly. So I'm going to leave it there and see what happens. Okay, so it doesn't feel too hot to the touch, but I noticed the fan isn't kicking on. But man, she looks pretty good with these wheels. Love it. But as you can see, she's boiling hot on the gauge. So I'm gonna assume that we have a bad coolant switch. So I'm just draining the coolant now, and now that we've verified that it's not the gauge inside the cluster, I'm going to be swapping out the switch off my old D-series here. So this is the switch here. So this is going to verify whether it's the switch or not. I have a feeling it could be the thermostat. So if this doesn't work, then we'll be looking into that. So here is the old switch. As you can see, it is identical with the one from the D series. So let's try putting this in. So while the coolant is out, I'm just gonna change out the thermostat as well, so I don't have to fill up the coolant again and then realize that hasn't worked and then have to drain it all again. So the B series and D series are exactly the same, so let's get that in. Okay, so here's the thermostat that came out of mine. This is actually an aftermarket one, and this is the housing of my D series. As you can see, the housings are a little bit different, but the thermostats are actually the same. So I have the new thermostat sitting in there, which is actually the OEM Honda one. Let's see if this makes a difference. All right, so everything is buttoned up. Now it's time to get the coolant back in and then bleed the system. Fingers crossed this will actually work. I have a feeling it could be that, but honestly, I just have no idea. So I've got the car turned on and warming up. That's where the gauge is currently at. I'm still bleeding the coolant system. The gauge has actually come down a bit, so fingers crossed this actually works. So this is the problem I'm having. The radiator doesn't feel hot at all, and this is definitely hot, and this hose is cold. Like the motor itself doesn't actually feel that hot. But when we come inside, the temp gauge is all the way there. So I don't know what's going on. Alright, so I went to the shop and I got myself a temp gauge. So let's see if it is the temp gauge that is actually faulty. If it is, that would make a lot of sense. If it isn't, I'm sure we'll end up finding what's wrong in the end. And plus we have a cool little temp gauge. So guys, we've managed to get this temp gauge working. It changes colour, which is pretty cool. That's going to look pretty slick mounted up. I'm still having the overheating problem though, so I'll run it for about 5 minutes and the temperature goes all the way to 120 degrees, which is just not good. So I'm still trying to troubleshoot it. I'll give you an update when I've figured it out. Okay, so the job now is to see if I can rig up an exhaust for this beast. So I have a few pieces laying around here from the old exhaust setup from my shuttle. I don't think it's going to be enough, but we'll see what we can do. So here is the current situation exhaust wise. So we have the header, the flex joint thing, and then we have 2 resonators as well as a joiner here. So I welded this rod on to hold up the second cat. I have to make another mounting point, and I'm going to do that on the other side. So that's the first thing, so I can get this pipe centered in there. Okay, so before we get into any of the proper work, I just wanted to take a quick second to put up a bit of a disclaimer, I guess. I'm not a professional, so don't go try copying any of the techniques that you see in this video. But yeah, do not try this at home. Because I want to get this car running and driving, I'm just going to rig up basically my headers and 2 resonators to the stock exhaust. So what that means is I'm going to have to transfer it from a 2.5 inch to a 1.75 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tip the end like this, chop this off right here, and then connect up the rest. So what I've done here is I've got the whole stock exhaust up and I've bolted it on, and then I've just tack welded it there in place, so I'll have no problems with it fitting. Now I'm going to take it all back off again and then fully weld up our little joiner there. So there we have it, our joint has been welded. Now let's get this exhaust installed into the car. I'm interested to see how this is going to sound. Boom, there we have it guys. The exhaust is fully hooked up, bolted up with no problems. Now, let's give this here what this thing sounds like. Now this is just a temporary solution. Like I said before, I'm going to be doing it properly. But that'll be a bit down the track because there's a pretty large wait time on exhaust pieces and exhaust fabricators in my area, and I want to get it done properly. So yeah, this is just a little temporary solution for now, while I wait for the proper exhaust to come in. Yeah, so I probably won't be getting all the power that I can out of this motor for the time being, but that's fine. It'll be good to be driving this thing around, instead of just having it sit here waiting for an exhaust. But yeah, let's get that first start going. You can barely hear it. She sounds so tame, just like she did with the old D-Series in it. That's really funny. This is going to be a little bit of a sleeper with the quiet exhaust and the stock wheels and all that. But anyway, let's take it for a drive. Alright guys, so I've just gone through and I'm editing up this video, which would have been about 5 weeks ago probably. And I just really haven't picked up the camera because I was so behind in videos. However, we've made a lot of progress since that last clip, which was, I think it was me finishing up the exhaust. So yeah, here is how the build currently sits. I've got a bride seat in here on sliding rails, which is pretty cool. This seat is absolutely phenomenal. I picked it up for a pretty good price, and yeah, it makes driving this car a heck of a lot more enjoyable. And earlier in this video, I spent a long time talking about our coolant temperature problem that we're having. So basically what I ended up doing was I took out the thermostat altogether. So now I just have an open thermostat. The thermostat's really only used to help the car warm up, and because the temperature's already quite warm, it doesn't really need to warm up fast, if that makes sense. However, in the long run, I do need to sort out a proper thermostat solution for this car. As soon as I opened up that thermostat, my temps just were running like normal, so it takes a little while to warm up, but once it's warm, it just operates at the normal temperature. Along with that, I also wired up a fan switch, so that's the button you'll see here. And I'm not sure if you can hear that, but basically when I push that in, it turns the radiator fan on, which is perfect for when I'm in traffic or stopping often or idling. You need to hit that and keep those temps below 100. So basically, although it's a manual switch, it works quite well, especially with this light letting me know when it's on and off. Yeah, and since then I haven't had any issues with overheating or anything like that. Like this, I have been dailying this car for probably 5 or 6 weeks now, and it is just mint. I drove this thing 600 kilometers up from Wellington to Auckland, and then I drove it, I think I've put over 2,000 kilometers on it already in about 5 weeks since I got that overheating issue sorted. And this thing is an absolute dream to drive. It is so reliable, it is really fun to drive, and I honestly love it so much. So yeah, what else have we done? We have this, we've got our steering wheel on here, we've got our interior all buttoned up. Oh yeah, and excuse the socks, I even mounted a little fire extinguisher there, which is kind of my favorite part of this whole build. I think it's so cool when someone hops in my car, they always ask, oh, why is there a fire extinguisher there? Because it's a race car. Now, in all seriousness, I don't want to burn my build down. So if anything ever goes wrong, especially with those overheating issues, I have a little escape plan there to help me not burn the car down, which would be a disaster. So yeah, apart from that, I'm still on the hunt for a shift knob. I got a horn button today, which I need a little bracket to mount. That'll look pretty cool on there. So the plan was to always daily this car, so I had to get a good sound system. So these speakers have excellent bass, they were super cheap. I wired this all on myself, and yeah, the car now has really good sound system. As well as that, I installed this rear strap brace. As well as that rear strap brace, I have installed a front strap brace here. And yeah, this engine runs like a champ. I put a lot of Ks on it already this summer, and it hasn't skipped a beat. I absolutely love this car, and yeah. I'm going to stop this update here because I'm just rambling at this point. But yeah, all in all, I love this car. Now back to the next clip. This next clip is Alright, so here's the plan. We have a stock exhaust here, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to chop it off there, and we're going to get our new exhaust, which is high flow, and it shouldn't sound too quiet, and we'll put it there. And we have this big straight pipe here, and we're gonna weld that in, and then we got a little 90 there, so we'll hit the 90, and then basically I need to figure out what I'm gonna do for tips at the end. But yeah, so we've got the muffler chopped off there, but of course it wouldn't be any exhaust without starting it basically open header, so let's hear it. Yo. Yeah, there's two caps. So, because I'm not in my normal garage, I'm having to use a different welder, which is actually a stick welder. So, I thought it was going to be a little bit harder than MIG welding, but actually this weld came out pretty good as I started to get the hang of it a bit more. But anyway, here's what I'm going to do. So I've got my muffler here. This is a 2.25 inch pipe, and I've got my 1.25 inch stock pipe here, and I'm just going to stick that in there and just weld that up. What I did is I cut flanges in it so it could kind of cinch around it and it'll be easy to weld. And then it's going to go into the 90 here, which I haven't done anything with, and then I'm gonna work on the tip after that. But yeah, almost there guys, looking good. Alright, so that is that weld done. It's not the prettiest, but I mean it's pretty complicated, so that one was never going to be the most pretty, but hey, it worked. Now it's time to work on getting this 90 positioned right, and then getting the blast pipe sorted. So it's the next morning, and here's where I got to last night. So I got this Y pipe made up, and this is the 90 that connects to the muffler. It is not the prettiest welds, but anyone who is watching this and has made these before knows how hard these are to make, so especially with a stick welder. So yeah, that's that. Anyway, here's the next step. I got my two shotgun tips that I'm going to be welding onto here, and they'll come out the back, and it should look pretty good. Yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so here's what we've got. We've got the 90 into the Y pipe, into the blast pipes. So this thing looks pretty cool. Now we're just going to put it onto the car and then tack her up and then fully weld it off the car. So here it is guys. I have got everything mocked up, got the muffler in there, got the blast pipes, the Y pipe, I've even got the hanger in there as well. Now let's get it bolted in the car and see what she sounds like. Let's start her up. Not too bad.
What are we saying?
Yeah, she sounds mint.
That's smoky. Smoky K on the start.
Alright, so I'm pretty happy with how that sounds. Doesn't sound too raspy or drony. Let's go take it for a drive now and see how she sounds. Alright, so we got the end piece trimmed off, so it should sit, so it just pokes a little bit out from the bumper. So let's get this back on there. So here's how she looks now. Very tidy. Actually love the way this thing turned out.